Davis, welcome back.
Thank you.
Both of you impacted by the end of the Queen Alexandra Foundation's early intervention therapy program. And now I understand that FAIR has some plans to potentially start up a center of its own to help these children. Is that right?
Yeah, we've been kind of putting some feelers out. It's more of a, floating a balloon at this point. We're just trying to get our ducks in a row to figure out what would be needed for us to do that. And our vision, I guess, is that we could put together a nonprofit version of the Queen Alexandra Center to some degree. Mm-hmm. Like, we would love to replicate that and get kids the adequate services. Of course, that would require a ton of fundraising on our part, as well as utilizing some of the annual funding that families get toward the therapy for kids. But, yeah, ideally, we would love to try and replicate the type of services that we were getting through the Queen Alexandra Center and, try and fill the gap, because so many kids are just getting lost right now.
And I think a really key thing, too, is that it now longer on the whole of Vancouver Island, there is no place to go to other than a private agency. If you're in trouble and your child's falling apart, you have to pay exorbitant rates to get the help that you need for your child. And whereas before you could call someone at QA and there would be someone there, the school districts could call QA and get their advice about a child. That is no longer there for schools either to access. On the mainland, the EIBI centers got to remain open with reduced hours, but on the island we have nothing. It's gone. So we really feel that starting some sort of nonprofit would benefit our children, even if it meant only 3 more hours. That's 3 more hours that can make it a significant difference to a lot of our kids. So we're really trying to push forward. But, of course, none of us know how to run a center like that. So it's a really huge learning curve, and we're really trying to put all the pieces together and look at how we could get more hours for the kids and still be paying people the proper amount of wage so that we're attracting quality care. Because that's a major issue, too. We've lost all of the people at QA. Most of them have had to be retrained into other professions because there's simply not enough work for them to make a living now, because they can work 7 hours with one child, maybe 4 with another, 3 with another, so they can't make a life out of it. So we've lost all of this wonderful, amazing knowledge, and so we've been trying to keep in touch with that staff and see if we can draw them back eventually into something where we can have them working with our kids again, and yeah.
Now, you mentioned places like Minnesota, I believe, that had actual programs set up that were really beneficial and were saving money. Are there other parts of Canada that have this kind of therapy set up for children with autism?
There are provinces across the country that, every province has its different regulations and whatnot. Obviously, Canada itself doesn't have an autism program in place. It's just left to the provinces. Each province does it differently. I would say most of the provinces are doing better. I would say all of the provinces right now are doing better than we are. Prior to that, we were right up there, maybe second or third in the country with how we were treating our children with autism with programs like the QA. Ever since the QA has been shut down, we've dropped to the bottom. Right now, I think Alberta's in the lead with basically giving each child what they need.
They're 18.
Yeah, and until they're 19. Here our kids are cut off from full funding at age 6, and they go down to some fairly nominal funding until they're 18.
Another important issue for our group, too, is when you look at where we are hit with the cutbacks, it's happened already at the early intervention level, and then what we are finding now as we move through advocacy is those of us transitioning into kindergarten, our children are not fully funded in the school district either. So the school district is scrambling to try and cover our children for safety, let alone to make any gains in their learning. So we're advocating at that level, trying to get the proper amount of hours that are needed for our children to be in school and be contributing in the classroom and active, and not just walking through the halls and that kind of thing. It's ongoing. It's going to happen when some of us maybe want to look at independent homes for our children, and there are none because group homes are getting slashed and cut as well. So this advocacy that we're learning so quickly about now is really going to be lifelong, and we're getting hit at every single angle where we're trying to help our children. And it's just shocking that the cuts are made like this with, no forethought into the future for our kids. So it's shocking.
And in this particular instance, the minister actually had the gall to say that she hasn't taken anything away from children with autism in the province of BC.
Wow.
She put that in the Langley Advance.
That she hasn't taken anything away?
Yes.
Wow. And you can obviously directly testify that is completely the opposite.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that we're talking about a program that is only available up to age 6, right?
Yes.
And Alberta has a program in place for kids with autism that goes right up until they're 18?
19, yeah.
19. Unbelievable. Is there just this gap of understanding at our provincial government level about what is actually involved in helping kids with autism succeed?
Well, to be completely honest, I think that anybody at that level in government, they all need to take a remedial math course because, there's no harm in, I guess the way that Alberta looks at it is they feel that running a bit of a deficit is worth taking care of these kids. And British Columbia has the attitude that, no, this is not a priority for us at this time. Like, we need to cut back on everything. We need to hack and slash at this deficit that we created for ourselves. And we're not willing to go out for children with needs, but we'll go out for, retractable roofs on BC Place or, silly things like that. It's just, it's a problem with basic math. They can't see that this short-sightedness is going to cost us billions of dollars in the future. It's also a matter of completely misguided priorities.
As far as where you are right now in looking at setting up this nonprofit, how is that process going?
Right now we're just in the consulting phase. So we've been consulting with some accountants. We've been consulting with professionals in the field to find out if we could even build a staff. And we have a lot of interest in that. There's a lot of people that have been working in this field that have had to leave it, as Nicole stated earlier, and they would love to come back in the right arena.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can provide that. So far we're just at the consulting phase just to try and figure out if it's even feasible for us to do it. And once we figure that out, then we're going to be in a position to move forward.
And we were hoping that the MCFT would be open to funding us in some form or fashion to get us started, and we did have a meeting with them regarding that. And again, they would not look at helping us open something like that at all. That wasn't even on the table. So we just have to keep pushing and fundraising and keeping our name out there and our parents together. And our Facebook group with the same name, FAIR, still has 1,500 members. We're still posting all of our news stories and anything that comes up for us on that site. We still have an email, bcautism@gmail.com, that we encourage people to write to if they'd like more information about anything that we have been doing since the QA closure. And yeah, we're doing what we can on top of surviving every day and trying to help our kids. So.
And it sounds like it's a tough journey at this point.
It is. Yeah.
I almost didn't make the interview today.
Oh.
The behavior issues with my son have gotten so far out of control since the QA closed down that it wasn't looking like it was going to happen, but he pulled it together.
Wow. Some very, very difficult things that you're dealing with. We've got funding and all of the family fallout, things like that. I wish you all the best. And the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to help? bcautism@gmail.com is our email address.
Or Facebook, which is our FAIR, FAIR, is our Facebook group. And, anybody can join.
And that's Fighting Autism Intervention Reductions.
Yes. That's right, yes.
Okay, Nicole Strong and Holly Davis, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you for the
opportunity. Appreciate it.
All right, and I wish you all the best with the nonprofit and continued dealings with the province and the journey that you now have before you without this early intervention autism therapy. All right, stay tuned. The news to 2:30 is next with Andrea Boyce.